Okay, let's dive right in. What we're talking about today isn't some sci-fi fantasy. It's happening right now, in the real world. And it all boils down to one huge question. How in the world do you write a rule book for a mind that isn't human?
And it all starts with this. Just let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about AI as a simple tool anymore. We have literally reached the point where an artificial intelligence can be appointed to a company's board of directors, sitting at the table and making huge decisions right alongside people.
And look, this isn't some one-off gimmick. A Hong Kong firm, Deep Knowledge Ventures, already did it. They put an AI on their board to help guide investments. On top of that, the law is starting to catch up. An AI can now legally own stuff, and yep, you can even sue it. And if you're wondering about the payoff, Abu Dhabi's national oil company used an AI-powered system to generate over $1 billion in value. This stuff is real, and it is incredibly powerful.
Which, of course, brings us to the real puzzle here. We've got these super smart systems operating in our world, but how do they follow our rules? You know, the rules that are full of nuance and context and things we just kinda understand as people.
This is really the classic square peg in a round hole problem. We're trying to jam this brand new kind of thinking into a system that was built from the ground up for the old kind of thinking, ours.
Let's break down why this is so tough. On one hand, you've got us. Our decisions are based on social ideas, things like fairness or acting in good faith. They're flexible, they change with the situation. But algorithms, they live in a totally different world. Their decisions are technical. They're built on pure, cold, hard logic and literal code. There's no room for interpretation. It's all ones and zeros.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Every single time we try to translate our squishy natural language laws into rigid computer code, something gets lost. You have to make a compromise, and that little compromise, that can become a huge problem.
Think about it like this, a self-driving car. You and I, if we're driving and a kid runs out into the street, we might swerve across a solid double line to avoid them. We know that's the right call, but how do you program that? The code says, rule number 1, never cross the solid line. So what do? Do you tell the AI it's okay to break the rule sometimes? Or do you force it to follow the code no matter what? That's the square peg problem, right there on the road.
But here's the really interesting part. That exact problem with self-driving cars, it might actually point us towards the solution, because the engineers working on this stuff have been wrestling with this exact question for years, and they've come up with a really clever idea.
It's called the Operational Design Domain, or ODD. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but the concept is actually pretty simple. It's just a very clearly defined set of conditions where the AI is guaranteed to work perfectly and safely. You can think of it like the AI's home turf, a little safety box where it knows every rule and it simply can't mess up.
So for a car, this safety box might say, this system only works in clear weather, only during the day, and only on perfectly paved highways. It is not built for snow, or for driving at night, or for dirt roads. The AI is only allowed to drive when it's inside this very specific box.
And this is the absolute key. Safety is only guaranteed when the car is inside its operational design domain. The second the conditions change, say it starts to rain heavily, the system recognizes, whoa, I'm outside my safety box, and it immediately hands control back to the human driver. It doesn't guess, it doesn't take risks.
So how do we take this brilliant idea and apply it to an AI on a corporate board? Well, the thinking is that we can build a similar kind of safety box for it. And the way to think about this is like a bilingual contract for the machine. This is a really fundamental shift in how we approach working with AI.
So here's how it works. Instead of writing one corporate policy and just hoping the AI understands it, you write two totally separate versions. You've got the one for humans, written in our language, full of fuzzy concepts like ethics and nuance. And then you have a second version just for the AI, written in its language, machine code that's based on hard, measurable data that it can actually process.
And you know what's crazy? This isn't even a brand new idea, at least in principle. A legal expert pointed out years ago that when companies do business in China, they often have two versions of the contract, one in English, one in Chinese. Both are totally valid, but they work in their own separate contexts. We're just talking about doing the same thing, but for humans and machines.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But what does this AI rulebook actually look like when the rubber meets the road? How do you really get from a vague human idea to something a machine can actually follow?
Well, let's take a huge one, a core principle of how companies are supposed to run, ensuring fair treatment of all shareholders.
Now, to a human director, that makes sense. But to an AI that thinks in ones and zeros, what does fair even mean?
Well, you translate it. You break down that big abstract idea of fair treatment into concrete machine-level principles. So, informed consent isn't a feeling. It's a verifiable digital signature from everyone involved. Non-discrimination means the AI must prove its decisions don't correlate with protected data points. And a fair distribution of risks can be mathematically calculated and checked. See, these are things an AI can actually track and measure.
And when you do this for all the important policies, you create what the source material calls a dedicated operational context. It's the safety box, the ODD, but for the boardroom. And this has massive implications, right? Especially for things like legal liability. If the AI followed its very specific pre-approved rules inside this box, it becomes a lot clearer who's responsible if something goes wrong.
So all of this, it leads us to one final, and maybe the most important question we have to ask ourselves as we bring these powerful new minds into our world.
It really boils down to this choice. Do we want to treat advanced AI like a car, trying to make it flexible enough to handle the messy, unpredictable, chaotic public roads of human society? Or do we treat it like a plane or a train, a technology that is unbelievably powerful because it operates on its own dedicated infrastructure, like tracks and airports?
And when you look at the safety data, it's not even a contest. Planes and trains are incredibly safer than cars. And why is that? It's because they operate in a highly controlled, predictable environment that was designed specifically for them. See, that's the key insight. Their massive power and their amazing safety aren't two separate things. They're two sides of the same coin. They are so powerful because they don't have to deal with the chaos of our roads. They get to thrive in their own world.
And that, right there, is the choice we're facing with AI. To really unlock its incredible potential safely and effectively, should we keep trying to force it to learn how to drive on our messy, nuanced human roads? Or should we focus on building it its very own, custom-made railway where it can truly fly? That's the question we all need to start thinking about.